Continental Free Trade Area Agreement. They have also resolved, in line with the instructions given by the two presidents when we met in Addis, that this border will now operate 24 hours. It is but just the beginning. We are moving rapidly in the direction of a non-stop border post. That is where we are heading. It will require of us the deployment of appropriate technologies. And on this note, I am aware that the Botswana Stock Exchange is well advanced in bringing about technology that will enable this non-stop border. They came to present their ideas and concepts to me with their partnering technological company. And when I finished with them, I gave them a simple injunction. I said to them, go and implement. Don't brook a moment's delay. Yesterday is ideal. Tomorrow is too late. That's the instruction I gave to them, I give here. Yesterday is ideal. Tomorrow is too late. The people we lead want results. They want their lives to change. Not tomorrow. Yesterday. We don't have the luxury of time. And so our role as leaders is to identify any strictures, any obstacles, any dilatory processes that hold us back, that impede progress, that thwart and frustrate delivery. And our task is to remove them and remove them instantly. The President of Zambia and I are of the same mind when it comes to this. And we will ensure that we deliver concrete, tangible outcomes for our people, for our countries, for our region, and for our continent. It is important for us to do this. The relationship between Botswana and Zambia, which has been healthy and vibrant, strong, will grow stronger, more vibrant. The inauguration of this authority, the Kazungula Bridge Authority today, is to cement and to inject more life, more energy into this relationship, this cooperation, this bilateral togetherness. We know that the real economy must be powered by finance. We need financial resources. And I mentioned the Botswana Stock Exchange because Zambia was able to mobilize from the Botswana Stock Exchange 500 million pula to develop industries, a factory plant in Zambia. We want more. We want finance to be mobilized and deployed in the service of development and transformation. We must raise the finance. We must provide environments that conduce to the deployment of the finance. And finance will not wait on us. We need to move with dispatch so that finance can descend into the praxis, into the real economy and power industries, and enable innovation. I've said before, I say it today. We must innovate. Innovation is about experimentation. It's about moving away from the beaten path. It's about pushing yourself away from your comfort zone. It's about pushing yourself sometimes even to breaking point in order to achieve feats that would never have been achieved before. We must constantly innovate in relation to the very processes and procedures that we are so beholden to, that we think have served us well and have lulled us into a complacency in which we've internalized, routinized them and turned them into sacred cows that are unreviewable. We must review these processes every moment of the way. The rate of our success will depend on the level, the scope, and the pace at which we innovate. We either innovate or we perish, for we will be left behind. These are the realities that we face. These are the issues that confront us on a daily basis and with which we must wrestle smartly, wrestle sustainably, and wrestle in a manner that advances the cause, not just of our individual countries, but our region, our continent, and our world, which we will rule as the African continent. I was talking to Sir Jim Ratcliffe, the owner of Manchester United, 2-3 days ago. And I was talking to him about football. And he said to me, the sport of football has evolved. He says if you look at the English Premier League 30 years ago and you look at it now, there's a marked difference. He says the sport has become a sprinting sport. It requires a fair bit of physicality. And he says if you look at those metrics, you cannot but realize that the future of football is Africa. That's the truth. Indeed, the future of anything really is Africa. The cradle of humanity. We contend here in Botswana that humanity originated somewhere in the salt plains of the Makadikati. We maintain that vigorously until the contrary is proved. And I think anthropologists will prove us right. And if they do, it will then establish that that Garden of Eden may actually be somewhere in this republic. And so, let me, as I draw to the conclusion, extend my warmest congratulations to the Executive Director of the authority, Mr. Mukela Muyunda. Thank you very much for taking up this noble assignment. Let me commend all the project teams that were involved in the preparation and the launching of this authority. Our two nations are endowed with talent and skill, dedicated and capable technocrats, sound professionals who have applied their skills, their expertise to ensure the attainment of our collective vision. Mr. President, let me also appreciate our ministers who took the instructions we gave them barely a week or so ago in Addis and acted with such speed and agility. We can now see that at every step of advance we have full support, we have full commitment of our officers, and our countries are much in their debt. We are indebted to all of them. May the establishment of this authority and the operations of the Kazungula pave the way for a stronger, more dynamic and resilient partnership between our two nations. A partnership that delivers meaningful and lasting impact for our people. A partnership that will serve as a template, a model worthy of emulation by others on the African continent, that will inspire more of our brothers and sisters on the African continent to open up these channels, not just Lobito corridor, many more. Bring each other on board, hold each other by the hand, and advance as a compact unit that speaks to the African heritage and our ancestry. It remains for me at this point to once again thank President Hakainde Hichilema, my good friend and brother. Thank all of you who are here, those who are not here, our people, and also appreciate that recently when we had challenges, which we still do, in our health space, I reached out to my dear brother in Zambia, and he responded with magnanimity, and we received the assistance we so desperately needed. That is the spirit of Ubuntu. Humanism, that's what the first president of Zambia, KK Kenneth Kaunda, called it. African humanism. That spirit, those binds and bones that bring us together and keep us together. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for the pleasure of your company here today and the privilege of your kind attention. Thank you.
Thank you. Please be seated. Thank you so much, Your Excellency. the President of the Republic of Botswana, Advocate Duma Gideon Boko, and of course, if I may speak on behalf of the Zambians that are here and the millions that are still in Zambia, we remember your recent visit to Lusaka in August of last year, and you, from the day you arrived, you were trending in Zambia. Oh, unforgettable. You were trending. The people were talking about your style, your swag, and of course every time you spoke, everyone hung on your every word, and the use of mobile internet shut up because people were referring to Google and online dictionaries just to be sure that they were with you every step of the way. Zambians are very fond of you, Your Excellency, and we look forward to your return. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure and it's a great honor to introduce to you and to invite to address us the 7th President of the Republic of Zambia, and this is Mr. Hakainde Hichilema. And let's put our hands together as he now comes to address this august house.
You may take your seats, please. Please do take your seats. Thank you very much. Let me acknowledge my dear brother, His Excellency President Gideon Duma Boko, and appreciate his way of delivering things. Makes it easier for all of us. Let me acknowledge the Council of Ministers, Kazungula Bridge Authority Council of Ministers, and the ministers from Botswana, from Zambia. You're all recognized. May I acknowledge the presence of traditional leaders from Zambia and Botswana, and also appreciate the message that our traditional leader from Botswana delivered. Luitumeza Holushangwe, Lutuire, the issues you raised. Candeles. Let me acknowledge our members of parliament from Botswana, Zambia, especially the host members of parliament from Chove here, from, I'm not sure why we call it Katombora. Really, we should change it to Kazungula so it can be aligned. But two host members of parliament seated next to each other. Thank you very much. Let me acknowledge our members of the diplomatic corps anchored by the two high commissioners, Zambian High Commissioner to Botswana, and indeed the one acting. Mr. President, we are waiting for the substantive High Commissioner so we can get on with the business. But the one who is acting is doing a good job. I must acknowledge that. Let me also acknowledge the board of directors and the management of the Kazungula River Authority. And clearly from what we are witnessing today, they are doing a good job, a very good job. Let me acknowledge the business community from the two countries. We do all this infrastructure so we can ease doing business. So I hope the business community from the two sides will rise to the occasion more than ever before to utilize this facility. I'll be talking about that a little bit. I must acknowledge all the officials from the two sides, different levels whom are doing bits and pieces that make the story complete. I must also acknowledge the local communities here in Kasane and in Kazungula Cross, immediate local communities, for looking after this asset. I said it some time back when we were here, that these two communities looked after this asset for all of us, for centuries, I must say, long before the bridge idea was conceived. Media is very important all the time, because today's great day will be communicated not only in Kasane, Kazungula, but in Botswana, in Zambia, SADC, Africa, and the world. And I agree, Mr. President, my brother, that Africa has all the ingredients to take the leadership that you have mentioned. But we must actualize that ourselves. We, the Africans, must take the lead, as opposed to expecting somebody from somewhere to take the lead. Others who support us, we take the lead. Surely, if I may say, ladies and gentlemen, let me first, before I say what I wanted to say, and I was figuring out what I would emphasize today, acknowledge the messages that have been delivered already by the various speakers. Traditional leader, in his own way, representing his colleagues, our ministers, President who spoke before me. All of your messages are telling the story of Kazungula Bridge from different angles, so I acknowledge that. So, Mr. President, my brother, let me start by thanking you for hosting us here in Kasane. Thank you, your cabinet, government, the people of Botswana, for being gracious in hosting us here in Kasane. And invariably inviting even those from Kazungula who can just walk over any time. But we have borders drawn by us, not by us, drawn by others. Many, many years ago, people sat in Berlin and drew these borders. As you followed the dances here, these are our dances across that side and here. You've heard about the names. I think one of the colleagues talked about the names here. Maplanga. I just thought, when did his grandfather cross over to come here to become a member of parliament? But this is his home. It's just that we share the name. Midupi. So they call my minister, Mr. President, my minister of infrastructure here is called Midupi. Absolutely one name. But these boundaries were done, created by others for us. And what we're doing today is one step further amongst many to take us to where we should have started from, considering ourselves as one and working as one. So, Mr. President, we tumeza hulu for your gesture of hosting us. Kazungula Bridge is significant, not for Botswana and Zambia only, but for our, what do you call it, that in English? Quadruplets? Triplets, twins, triplets, quadruplets. Botswana, Zambia, Namibia, and Zimbabwe. I believe my hand gestures are correct. Where's the bridge? Here? So the Namibia, Botswana here, Namibia there, Zimbabwe this side, and Zambia across. But these three countries come into Zambia at this only one point in the world, the whole world. Only this point is where four countries meet. This already tells you that God created this asset and designed it this way, even when people sat in Berlin. Let's clap for our God, our gracious God. And Mr. President, this bridge, this point's value goes beyond these four countries. Angola further this side, you can go on. Congo this side, all the way. So SADC Africa, this is their asset. We're just custodians because God placed us here. And therefore, whatever we do with this bridge, we must contextualize that this asset is not only ours, it's an asset that belongs to many. And I think the world, if I may say. So we need to be broader in the way Kazungula Bridge Authority first is conceived. I think the framework is fine, but how we run it so that it benefits, draws value. Minister Midupi there was whispering to me that this is now the preferred route, Mr. President, for the countries in the north. This, of the many border posts we have on the southern side, this is the preferred route. So we expect the board management to take that into account and have a continuous improvement program, investing in this bridge, this asset, so that that premier status it has acquired already can be grown and grown. And we know what we want from it, value. Not what the eyes can see only, not just the intrinsic value, but actually the business economic value. More transactions. From 200 trucks to 400 plus. Double. Our ambition is to triple, is to get to 1,000 trucks per day. That will translate into more goods passing through here. That will translate into other things such as spending. Just those who move the trucks do spend money around this place. So Kasane, Kazungula will begin to thrive more than what it is today. That's a bigger picture. Taking goods manufactured in South Africa, Botswana here, Zambia, further, both directions. And Mr. President and I were chatting. I'm glad we used the same car. That we need to see a situation where no truck goes north loaded and comes back south empty. We want to see return loads. So we can grow the turnovers of what we do with each other at a bilateral level, but in the region and beyond. Efficiencies, which will help lower the costs per unit of whatever we carry. That is what we would like to see, colleagues. And who leads in that area is the business community seated here. The two governments will facilitate. We will do what you tell us, that what slows you from achieving those numbers. You take boat salt to Zambia, you come back with stock feed from Zambia. Because you do need it. We do need the salt. I was saying to the President, the sword is not just for domestic consumption, it's also for industrial consumption. And larger quantities actually come through industrial consumption. That's what you seated here, the business people, and the media must transmit. Opportunity. Great opportunity. For my sins of the past, every time I look at these things, I'm asking myself, are the guys next to me are seeing the same opportunities I'm seeing? Great opportunities, which will translate to benefits for our people. That's why my brother and I are seated here. And that's why, in fact, when we were in Addis, we called the two ministers of foreign affairs. After we chatted, we summoned them there and then. And they had no seats to sit. Only 2 chairs were there for the two of us. So they stood next to us. And we issued the instructions. Yes, one minister is here. There you are. Tumerara. So you phone your counterpart after that, that things are happening following those instructions. And the instructions by presidents, leaders who preceded us in Botswana and in Zambia. Because that's how countries move. So we can do more things together. You've all touched on issues that talk to our bilateral relationship. Talk to SADC, talk to AU, Africa Continental Free Trade Area. That cannot exist in the air. The laws of nature does not allow things to exist in a hanging situation. They have to be anchored. The enhancement of trade in this SADC region and on the African continent have to be anchored. They can't hang. These are the anchors. These are the portals. This bridge is the anchor to deepening and realizing the Africa Free Trade Area, Continental Free Trade Area. Simple, straight. Let's utilize this asset. I think one of the speakers must be Master of Ceremony, Director of Ceremony, said, property lies beneath this water because the pontoons used to have accidents here. Lives lie here. Some may have been retrieved, others may have not been. And what this asset has done is to ameliorate all those negatives. So let's sweat it. Let's sweat this asset. Then we can anchor the SADC intra-trade, so intra-SADC trade. We can anchor the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. This asset, amongst many. But we're talking of this asset today. So, Mr. President, my brother, our instructions must continue. The checklist of our instructions must continue growing. Such as, I said to him again when we were having our quiet moment by the Chobe River there, beautiful lodge, that we cannot be talking of trade. We cannot be talking of moving goods here. There's something amiss. We cannot be talking of, every time we talk about investment, we're talking about us in Botswana, in Zambia, looking at east or west. We now want to add in the checklist of instructions, we want to see more joint investments between Botswana and Zambians. So we can produce goods to carry through this bridge. The factories must be owned by us where our capital levels are short, equity or debt, cost debt at a fair price. We must go to others after having come together. You get my point. This is to move goods, but we want you to produce the goods that move through this bridge. Many sectors, agriculture. We added the energy sector, our interconnector, our joint railway project You see the design of this bridge. You've all seen it, isn't it? I believe you've all been on this bridge. Rail project. We make the asset sweat, as I said, for my sins of the past. Investments, money must work for us. This is a disease, Mr. President, we need to heal here. And we need more than a Panadol. Right? As Africa, for us to take the leadership, we have to do the basic things first. Fully utilize the endowments that we have, such as the provision of a rail line. So let it continue southwards and northwards. On the north side here, very easy to connect it to Zambia Railways network. Kazungula across, Livingstone, bang. Talk about Katima Mulilo rail line. But really the link is this side. Therefore, this corridor, already taking prominence, can derive more value for Botswana, for Zambia. And Mr. President, the youthful population you talked about can have the opportunities that they're yearning for by us deliberately taking these decisions. Mutwile sichaba? Mutwile? Mautwa? I think this is the story. That's why we're here, to remind each other. But we're saying we will continue adding on the checklist of things that you need to do. But we are conscious, my brother and I are conscious that there are things we are not aware of. That's why we are asking our cabinet colleagues on both sides, permanent secretaries, officials, technical, and others, and the private sector, to add on to that checklist we have. Say what else you want done so that this asset can yield more returns. You got me. As you go back, have a sit down in Botswana, in Zambia. Then virtual meetings. If you want to walk across, if you want a meeting at the middle of the river there, you should hold it on the bridge or on the boat. After all, Mr. President, we are conceptualizing as a tourist product here with this iconic bridge that we will have floating restaurants. We talked about floating restaurants here. And people can sit and eat. That's the kind of vision. Traditional leaders, Mulenak, Amrufe land around here so we can do more developments, such as broadening the tourism products in this area. Not just for the 2 countries, but for the 4 countries and others. We want occupancies to improve around here in the lodges. But to do that, we need minimum standards. I think that's what the Kazungula River Authority is supposed to be doing. Minimum standards for developments around this area. Not second fiddle, but the best rate investments, best grade, so that we can attract traffic. Mr. President, nothing stops our tourism organizations to refine, to devise, refine a multi-country product. Tourist starts off from Botswana, Chobe, Okavango, ends up at the Victoria Falls in Zambia and the Kafue National Park, and vice versa, and across Namibia, Zimbabwe. This is your challenge now. We're doing our part. Do your part. Let's enhance the value around you. Tourism, agriculture, processing, I believe this is really what I wanted to say, but for the two governments, alulatima firi, dragging feet. Mr. President, I'm only saying we don't want wish-wash. And I heard you here, and it's like you are speaking for me. The language of this is how we do things in government. This is how government works. I asked my cabinet, especially those who have been in other governments, you guys, if you are clever, why haven't we developed our country to this level using these procedures and processes? Let's put them aware and do things differently. And focusing on outcomes rather than processes. Let's quickly do that on two sides so that we can remove the rigidities that the private sector face and then get on with the job. Lower the cost of doing business. I'm happy you talked about a non-stop border post, Mr. President. Technology, as you said, allows us to do that. Single window, you're parking both sort at the factory. Not sure the nearest salt factory here in Botswana. You are parking there for a truck destined for the copper belt. And the customer on the copper belt is viewing the parking together with the customs officials in Botswana and Zambia. They are all viewing, because of digital platform, under what we call a single window, isn't it? So now the truck moves from the factory, it's going to Kitwe, and it comes here, Mr. President, like you say, 3 kilometers. Very embarrassing. There must be no kilometer of a queue on either side. So that truck must just drive through. Because we can view the truck. If the driver tries to fiddle with that truck, we will view that he stopped somewhere. What was he doing? The standards are there. I think that's what we're talking about here. And so we can queue that 3 kilometers. And then minimum time is spent here. But the taxes or revenues are being earned digitally. Simple. So that's a challenge to the governmental colleagues. We, the governmental colleagues. What I will do next time, Mr. President, you come, I will invite you to give a word in our cabinet meeting. You will sit next to me there, then you will talk to my cabinet ministers. And when you allow me to do the same, I will do it here with your authority. So we sing from the same hymn sheet. I think the economies of this bridge cannot be argued any further. In closing, I simply want to say, today is a great day. Today is a great day. And we want more of such days, but they will only happen when we prioritize our investments. Resources are scarce. We prioritize our investments. We add more things to this asset, more products around here. But we can do it. We are capable. I was saying to the President, and we shared this view, I was encouraging him that push the reforms. Push. You can't make everybody happy. Push the reforms that are necessary. In the logistics area, in energy, in anything. And I said to him, reforms deliver positive results, even for those that may have been against the reforms. It's a question of time, and they see the benefits. So we will continue pushing reforms. I can attest that in Zambia, reforms are delivering results. Delivering results. Even our greatest critics, Mr. President, they say things in public, but we send spies around them in private, say, But these fellows are working, delivering. That's okay. So we will continue pushing reforms ourselves. My president, my brother, myself, you, our government, sides, and the private sector. You should be leading in the reforms. Then our economies will thrive. Our young people will be in school. After school, they'll go to college. After college, they'll have a job opportunity. If not, a business opportunity. More importantly, our treasury envelopes will grow. And we can support the weak, the sick, the old, the differently abled in our communities. We can give hope to somebody. That's what we're elected to do. That's what we sought public office for. We all had gainful things to do in our own way. But we took this step, giant step, to make our countries, our people better. May God bless Botswana. May God bless Zambia. May God bless SADC, Africa, and our world. Thank you very much.
What a beautiful time it is to be alive with a pulse and to be African. A round of applause indeed for our presidential speakers. Kana baterna di sala ka ko Zambia banze ban thuta ditemi mekelekele ke ya re ke rialo ke re twalumba va President Hakainde Hichilema ke a go leboga mosadi wa rona. Well, if you've just tuned on to your radio or your television or government Facebook pages, etc., this is the Kazungula Landing Bay, and we are here activating the Kazungula Bridge Authority. You might be able to have viewpoint right now of officials in uniform and suits who have relocated the plaque to the stage, and this is for the highlight moment where our presidents shall be taking residence of the stage and unveiling the plaque. As I stand by to receive our presidents in their unveiling of this plaque, I shall inform you that we shall shortly also be observing a gift exchange.